How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews, back with a little bit of little vintage, little sour wild jams. Doesn't say sour, it says American Wild Ale on it. Big distinction there. A little bit of Roundabout Brewery. This is their Butler in 49th Street, Intersection 2018. This comes courtesy of my boy Dan from Pittsburgh, aka the Disco Pie. He sent this off. He sent off a bunch of kind of cellar jams, and this is the last one I'm diving into. I don't know why. He sent one other Roundabout beer, and it might have been my favorite one out of that whole lot that he sent off. And I don't know why I waited till now. Maybe because I knew it was going to gush. We'll see. I didn't know it was going to gush. But, I mean, it's an 8.1% wild ale. We'll see how this sucker has aged. The fact that it just gushed like crazy, honestly, doesn't mean it's gonna be poopy. It's a wild ale. Overcarbonation can happen sometimes, but it could be sideways, so we're gonna find out. So, using up the last of my roll of paper towels on you. Hope you're happy there, buddy guy. And this is a 500 milliliter bottle. It doesn't give me any other information other than the date and the kind of beer it is. So, throw that over there. Hopefully I have enough paper towel to get this cleaned up. That'll be enough. It'll be enough. I have real towels too. Usually don't like to use them on the beer. Oop. Found one's hiding away. I mean, that's very aggressively carbonated. I'm thinking it's more just overcarbed than sour at this point, but we'll find out. Wild ales can go in multiple different directions. Label-wise, it's cool. Ghetto, black and white. What are you going to do? And as far as that beer looks, it looks like a hyper-aggressive, above champagne level kind of carbonation and a murky, hazy kind of beer. Yeah. A little yeast floating around on the top there. Good nose. There's something going on here in a very cool way. I'm getting like a minty component to this. And when I say mint, I mean mintiness. Like spearmintiness. Not that eucalyptus thing I talk about with hops, an actual mintiness of this. It's got this nice, sweet, tarty kind of thing going on with the way the yeast kind of comes off. I think it might be a combination of the yeast and the actual malt, that back and forth. There's a soft little mint component to it, too. Sweet. It feels like cheek puckering level of acidity on it. That's an interesting note. I don't think it's a negative beer. I don't think it's sideways with how it gushed the way it is. I just think the beer was just, wild beer, got overcarbed, but I think it's still going to be tasty. It smells really intriguing. Sweet, tart, that little minty characteristic, and just this kind of sweetened grain kind of component to it. There's not a huge kind of bittering on it. There's not a huge kind of sour component to it. It's more of a tartness that I'm getting off of it. I'm intrigued. Let's dive in. Cheers. Kind of a bummer. It's not negative. It's not off flavor. It's not soured. But it's just really kind of neutral. There's really not much to it as far as personality goes. I get that hyper level of carbonation in there. That graininess that I was talking about does come through, but it's nothing too big. There isn't a sweet or tart component to this beer. That's why I say it kind of lacks kind of personality to it. Because in the nose, you kind of get this kind of idea if you're going to get this sweet, tarty kind of thing going on. Well, in the great scheme of things, it does kind of contain a sweetness and a subtle tartness. It's way smaller than you expect, especially for something at 8.1%. When you get that hyper aggressive level of carbonation on the beer, it tends to kind of drown out some of those tastes, some of those flavors. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I thought the nose was cool. It just kind of ends up being kind of like fine, a neutral kind of not overly crazy looking kind of wild beer. Like I said, Merriam-Webster Dictionary, wild beer. Generic is the word that comes to mind. And I don't mean that as an overt like overtly crazy kind of bump or just negative swipe at the brewery. If they're a basic brewery, like I said, the other beer that I had from them, the Old Ale, was absolutely fucking fantastic. But this just lacks something. It needs something to kind of set itself apart from just being a base wild ale. It tastes like a base wild ale. Like, you'd be like, I made a wild ale. It's a wild ale. What does it taste like? Well, the yeast doesn't really bring much to the table. Well, the malts are kind of there, but nothing too electric. Is there some hopping? Did you add it to wood? Did you put any kind of like adjuncts in it? Flowers or herbs or this or that? No, not really. I'm not really getting much as far as anything off of the yeast. The minty thing I got in the nose is definitely not there in the taste. It just tastes like a carbonated wild ale yeast beer in the most simple way possible. Done and done. Yeah, not a bad beer. Probably drink this whole glass. Probably won't finish the whole bottle, but I'll drink this, see how it changes maybe a little bit with temperature. I don't think it's going to change all that much, but just for science, it's called. And fun attempt doing a little wild ale. It might have tasted quite a bit different when it was fresh. Maybe that aggressive carbonation and that yeast kind of turning. I'm assuming it's bottle conditioned. It almost certainly has to be. Just turn this beer into something a bit more neutral. Because it's not really oxidized, but it has the traits of what oxidation typically does to a beer, which is kind of mute a lot of the original flavors that were intended in the beer. So it could be a markedly different beer now than it was when it originally came out. But it's still not like a negative beer. It's just kind of there. So you know what this beer would be best? And this is me trying to find a ray of sunshine and a cloudy day. I would love to open this beer, not have a gush, and drink this along on a bottle share. This is like one of the best palate cleansing beers I've had. There's a twist for you. We'll kind of spin it that way. One of the best palate cleansing beers I've had. And that it's almost like without, hey, I'll say it in a review. You've never heard me say this before, carbonic acid. It's kind of like seltzer water without the carbonic acid in it, and the way it kind of comes off. Now, it is one of the most effervescent palate cleansing beers that I've had. So this would be like if you're going through a share, you want to drink have a sidecar beer. The 8.1% is not the best kind of sidecar beer to have during a share. This is something, I could take a sip of this between each beer and I'd be resetting my palate every single time. That's probably the best thing about this beer. So there you go. That's not a good review. I apologize, Roundabout. Go watch the other one. I really like that one. And it is what it is. It's aged beer. It's wild ale. These are the games we play with these kind of beers, so 'tis what it is. Is it one of the better wild ales that I've had as of late? No. Value and availability? No idea. Let us know, Pittsburghians, Dan, whoever wants to let me know what you paid for this and leave you with if you like, you like this. If you like palate cleansers. There you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massif if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little palate cleansing right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers.